everyone, it's Sam. Welcome to practice today. Gonna talk you through today a bit more of a foundation practice. So working through the foundations and modifications of our Namaskar A and B, which is our Sun Salutation A and B. So it's often something that we take at the start of most vinyasa flows, most yoga practices. So this won't be a flow, like a fluid flow as such. It'll be more of a breakdown of each of the postures and looking at how we can maybe modify and how we can progress our Sun Salutations so we can take this into any practice really. So it'd be good if you can have 2 blocks today handy. So just get them, place them nearby your mat. If you don't have blocks, maybe using like some hardback books or something, preferably something that'll give you a bit of support though here. Yeah, and then when you're ready, coming to find yourself in a comfortable seated position on your mat. So you might want to be up on the knees, you might want to take a block and place it under your sit bones, coming into a comfortable cross-legged position or taking your Sukhasana, so one leg in front of the other. And then starting to close down the eyes here. Starting to invite yourself onto your mat and into your practice. Allow yourself to just drop in here. And allowing yourself today to move, to breathe, to flow without any judgment, maybe without any expectations of your mind, your body. Just let it be. Checking in with yourself here, your body, noticing the breath. Noticing any areas of tension in your body. You might be feeling a little bit sticky in places today, and just notice this. Allow yourself to carve out this time completely for yourself, completely to get to know your own practice. Starting to deepen the breath here. So inhaling and exhaling through the nose. As you inhale, inflating the belly a little bit more, lifting the ribs, open the chest, allow that breath to draw in deeper like you're breathing all the way down to your hips. And then exhale, release the breath through the nose, the chest lowers, the ribs contract, the belly softens. Maybe you want to take one hand to your belly, one hand to your chest here. Just allow yourself to feel that breath moving through your body. Noticing the rhythm of your own breath. Take 2 more full rounds of this breath here. Releasing the hands, placing it back onto your knees. Take another deep inhale all the way into the belly, fill up the lungs. And exhale, sigh it out through the mouth, release it all. I still take one more inhale. Fill it all the way up and exhale, release it out. And then gently starting to blink, open the eyes here. So coming into a little bit of pranayama to start the practice. So you might hear a lot in the yoga practice to engage your ujjayi breath. And that's something that I'll just talk a little bit about today. So your ujjayi breath is that oceanic sound. So When you inhale and exhale through the nose. As you exhale, it's like you have a slight restriction in the back of your throat, so it creates a bit more of an audible sound. So you don't need to be like pushing it out really hard here. It can be quite soft, it can be quite nice to have it quite soft, it's quite calming. Just going to talk you through a little exercise which might help you to find your way of taking your ujjayi breath. So take a deep inhale through the nose. As you exhale, take your hand and place it, and imagine you've got a mirror in your hand, and as you exhale, exhale through the mouth like you're trying to fog up the mirror. Nice. And we'll take one more. Inhale. Exhale, fog up that mirror with your breath. Amazing. So as you do that, you can feel that slight restriction of the throat. So that is essentially the foundations of ujjayi, but instead of exhaling with the mouth open, we exhale closing down the mouth, and we exhale through the nose. So we'll take 3 rounds of that using that visualization. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose. Nice. Take 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. 1 more. Inhale. Exhale. If that still feels a little bit strange for you, just breathe in deeply in and out through the nose, it's fine. Then we come back to our more natural inhale and exhale. And go ahead and release that block if you're taking it, or moving yourself however you wish to get there into your foundation, your tabletop position. So just taking a little warm up before we get started. So spreading really wide through the fingertips. You want to have your shoulders stacked on top of your wrists, hips on top of your knees. We'll take a couple rounds of cat-cow, maybe slight bend in the elbows. As you inhale, the tailbone lifts high. The chest reaches through, it lifts up, the gaze follows. As you exhale, tuck under that tailbone, push away with your shoulder blades, gaze to your belly. And then we take a couple rounds of this cat-cow. And as we do this, really starting to connect that movement to your breath. So maybe you want to start to introduce that ujjayi breath that we took just before. So really finding this movement, and that will really help you to stay present, to stay in control of your yoga practice. Moving with the breath is essentially one of the biggest help, the biggest foundation. And come back to tabletop, and then just start to shift the shoulders over the wrist, taking some circles. So again, these can just be quite soft if you need to here, just feeling into the wrists, creating a little bit of heat here. Again, not losing that breath. And then take it in the opposite direction. Staying spread wide through the fingertips. And sit back to the knees, shake them off if you need to, giving it a little bit of a release. Finding your way back into your tabletop position. Start to take your hands about another palm's distance in front of you, keeping your hands shoulder distance apart. So really engaging through the thumb and the first finger here. This is our pads that we really want to push down when we're doing our Sun Salutations and the rest of our practice, really. Anything where your wrist might be trying to support you. So from here, we want to aim to have this slight internal rotation of the forearm, external rotation of the tricep. So that in itself is quite a bit of a strange concept, but that is ultimately the foundation of our upper body for our downward facing dog. So maybe just having a little think about that. So wrapping your triceps around it. So you want the eyes of the elbows facing forward and the shoulders like they can face towards each other. Find that engagement. Then tuck under the toes, start to lift the knees, send the sit bones high, coming into our first Ardha Mukha Svanasana, so downward facing dog. So for our first downward dog, in most practices, I would really encourage this little bit of movement here. So keeping everything a little bit softer here. We don't go into our full, most active down dog here. So keeping the knees soft, making sure the feet are hips distance apart, pedaling through the knees, through the legs, waking up those hamstrings. Like to shake the head yes and no here. This helps me to remember to keep my neck soft here. Remember, while we're really actively engaging later on with the hands and the feet. So just getting a little bit familiar here. If this all feels too much, knowing that you can always take modification of tabletop or coming down to child's pose. So whatever feels right for you. Go ahead and take the gaze forward. Keep the knees soft. And then start to tiptoe the feet in towards the hands, keeping the feet at hip distance apart. Generously bend those knees and allow the upper body to just fold forward here. So we're not pushing massively into anything in the body. We can hang here. Maybe we take hold of opposite elbows and we can gently sway from side to side. So this is our ragdoll, so still just taking a little bit of warm up. Again, coming back to that breath. Okay, then from here, release the hands, keep the knees soft. Draw your chin towards your chest and roll that spine all the way up to standing, the head coming up last of all. As you arrive at the top, take an inhale, draw your shoulders up towards your ears. Then exhale, roll them down the back. Nice, creating that little bit of space in the chest. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with our Sun Salutation A here, so Namaskar A. So we're going to do this 3 times. So the first time we're going to work into a more gentle version and we'll progress. So if you do the first one and you feel like that's enough for your body, then I want you to stay with that variation through the rest of it. Again, 2 might be enough and you want to stay in child's pose, then meet back for Sun Salutation B. That's also fine. So I'd recommend getting your blocks and placing them at the top of your mat. So just in case you need them here. And then finding ourselves in our Tadasana. So our Tadasana foundations, making sure our feet are hips distance apart here. You can bring your toes together, heels slightly apart, but for today I think we'll go with stacking the feet underneath the hips. It provides a bit more space, a bit more stability. You can lift all 10 toes, spread them as wide as you can, and then ground them back down to the mat. So we're finding our Pada Bandha, that engagement through the feet to draw up that energy, feel that engagement. Slight internal rotation of the thighs, drawing that navel through to the spine, finding that core engagement here. Nice. And when we have that, taking our hands to heart center, Samasthiti. As you inhale, the arms reach all the way overhead, so Urdhva Hastasana. So keep the arms about shoulder distance apart here, keep the gaze forward. As you exhale, start to hinge forward from your hips, so starting to move from the hip joint, hinging forward. And then we keep the knees soft here, and we come all the way down into a forward fold. So the first one we'll keep really soft. So take a nice generous bend in the knees. We have our blocks, so if you want to, taking the blocks either side, they can be on any setting that you want, on either side of the foot, and then just allow yourself to fold forward here. So as you do this, think about your thighs drawing back, think about your internal thighs drawing inwards. So we're actually quite active in this, we're not just allowing everything to collapse. Find that engagement. Just feel a nice juicy stretch through the hamstrings. Nice. And as you inhale, we'll come to our halfway lift. So again, you can have the blocks here if you like. Nice option can be to place your hands onto your shins, and we lift up and out of the chest. So we want to roll those shoulder blades back, so it's like the shoulder blades are drawing together. Again, keeping that engagement, pushing those thighs back, keeping a slight bend in the knees here. And we're aiming for a nice flat back. Feel that space. This is where we inhale. Then as you exhale, start to bend the knees, plant the hands to the mat, and we step back to our plank pose. So you can always stay in your plank pose here. Options to always lower the knees. So knowing that you can always come again to that tabletop position. If your feet, the knees stepped a little bit further back than tabletop to allow a bit more space. Always available. So for now, we'll actually stay here. Then we inhale. So think about that cow back. So we inhale, we lift the tailbone. We start to arch through the spine. We bend those elbows, so the elbows are soft and it's like the triceps are sweeping past the ribs as we lower the chest and the chin in between our hands. So this is our knees, chest, chin variation. Squeeze the elbows in. Then start to lower those hips down to the mat. And then we inhale, roll shoulder blades down the back, push down through the hands. We lift into Bhujangasana, low cobra. So again, we want to push down through the tops of the feet here as well. We're rolling those triceps around and into the center line to create that lift through our back. So everything is engaged here. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, gently release. Start to tuck under the toes. Push through the hands to drive the sit bones back to this tucked under toe variation of child's pose. And then we lift, extend the hamstrings into downward facing dog, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. So finding, again, knowing you can lower down here, or finding your foundation. So a really nice way to find exactly your placement in your downward facing dog is to come in from your plank pose. So finding your foundations in your plank, so pushing away through the shoulder blades, pushing away through the feet, and then we just send the sit bones high here. So this is really your optimum position. This doesn't mean that you need to stay here. If anything feels a bit uncomfortable for you, please feel free to take what feels right for you. So feet hips distance apart. Take a little bend into the elbows, and again, look for that internal rotation of forearms, drawing those armpits in towards each other, pushing away through the hands here. So you can keep your knees bent, but actually aiming for the length in the spine rather than anything else in this pose. So a lot of people are quite keen to straighten through the hamstrings. That comes in time, it doesn't matter. And again, you might want to take this for your first few rounds of Surya Namaskar A and then work into extending it. Take 5 deep breaths here. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose. Noticing that stability. Inhale. The chest is soft. Exhale. We're keeping that core engaged, so we try not to flare the ribs here. 3. Lift the sit bones high. 4. Number 5, amazing. Take the gaze in between your hands and we'll tiptoe the feet behind the wrists. Inhale, halfway lift, any variation. Exhale, fold, taking a variation of your blocks or placing the fingertips down beside you. Maybe taking hold of behind the ankles. Then we inhale, push down through the feet to really drive that body up. Squeeze those thighs together. Inhale, arms meet overhead. And exhale, palms together, heart center. Samastiti. Amazing. Okay, we go again. Adding on, staying with that variation if you wish. Inhale. Arms reach high. Maybe the palms come together this time. Maybe the gaze goes up. Exhale, start to hinge forward from your hips again. Engage those thighs as you lower. So coming into your variation of forward fold, whatever feels right for you. Pushing those thighs back. Inhale, halfway lift. You can have your hands to the shins, gaze forward, or adding on fingertips to the mat. Again, keeping those foundation, that flat back, little bend in the knees to find that stability. Bend the knees, plant the hands, step back to your plank pose. So holding here for a moment, knowing you can lower down. And then we'll all go ahead and lower down here. So knees, chest, chin option if you wish. Otherwise, coming into a half chaturanga. So finding this foundation. So this is a nice way to build strength. Knees, chest, chin is really nice to open the body, but we don't build a lot of strength to work into our full chaturanga. So this is a really nice way to do that. So again, taking your hands shoulder width apart. We inhale, start to shift the body forward. So notice that I'm not just collapsing the hips here. So this can happen sometimes. We don't have that engagement. So we're actually really drawing everything into center. As we shift forward, we look forward, keep it engaged. As you exhale, we bend into those elbows. So the elbows sweep coming towards us and we lower down with control. So they sweep past the ribs. And we aim to get everything down into the mat at the same time rather than the belly meeting first. And from here, inhale, roll down the shoulders, peel up. You can come to low cobra, or maybe you feel ready to come to full upward facing dog if you want to. Taking the hands a little bit further back, so they're either at your hips or just slightly in front. And then we push down and back through the hands. So it's like we're pulling it back to allow us to open through the chest. Keep a tiny bend in the elbows. Push down through tops of the feet, legs are engaged here, knees are off the mat. Inhale. We exhale. Maybe tuck under one toe, maybe tuck under the other. And we push back downward facing dog again. Coming through that or coming through your child's pose variation and pushing up to your downward facing dog. Anything that feels right for you. Maybe taking a few wiggles and then find your downward dog foundation. Take 5 deep breaths here. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose. Wrap those triceps too. Bending the knees if you need. 3. Engage the core, tailbone lifts high. 4. Final breath. 5. Connect to that ujjayi. Take the gaze in between the hands. You can either tiptoe the feet or you might want to step one of your feet forward here. So it's like a lunge variation. And then power the other foot to meet it. So you come into your halfway lift. Any option for you. Exhale to your fold. Feel the core engagement. Inhale, root down to rise all the way up. Hands reach overhead. Maybe the gaze follows. Exhale, hands to heart center. Nice. We take one more here and then we'll have a little rest. So we inhale. Any variation of Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. So adding on here, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands, step back to your plank pose. So again, any variation that we've done so far, welcome to take that. We'll meet back in downward facing dog. If you want to come into your full chaturanga or finding these foundations, then come with me. So finding our plank pose. So we push away through the shoulder blades. We start to push away through the heels. We find that solid foundation. Core is drawing in, navel to spine. As you inhale, use the toes to push that body weight forward, so aiming for shoulders over the wrists. As you exhale, again, same thing as half chaturanga. Squeeze the triceps behind you, we lower halfway. Inhale, tuck under the toes, so we come onto the tops of the feet. We lower the hips, we open up. So again, pushing through tops of the feet and hand here for stability. Inhale. And as you exhale, maybe tucking under the toes, pushing all the way back, downward dog. Nice, definitely a stronger variation. Do what feels right for you. And we take our 5 breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Dropping down to child if you need. Inhale. Exhale. Connect to your ujjayi. 3. 4. And 5. Take the gaze in between the hands. This time, either stepping with the other leg, coming into your lunge, or taking a little hop. So there's two things we can do here. So finding your foundation through your hands, spread those fingertips wide. Start to take the feet together. And I like to shift forward, bend the sit bones towards the heels, and then we really push down through the hands to allow us to just send the weight forward, bending into the knees as you get there. So again, more of an advanced transition, but welcome to know where you can progress to in your practice. Something that I'm still working through myself as well. So a nice way to feel the lift of the hips as you do this is taking your blocks and taking them about shoulder distance apart. So this helps to create a bit more space to allow us to lift the hips. So finding something that feels quite solid for you here, because you want to put a bit of weight into this. So coming back to your downward facing dog, hands on the block, take your feet together. As you inhale, look forward, bend the knees, send the hips high, and then we lift up. So we're aiming for the feet to come in between the hands. So have a little play with that if you want to, and just see how it feels. Feeling that lift, that lightness. We inhale halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale to rise all the way up, hands reach overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center, Samasthiti here, close down the eyes. And then just notice your body. Maybe notice the beating of the heart. Connecting back to your Ujjayi breath. Maybe sighing it out, letting any tension go if you need. And blinking open the eyes, taking the hands beside you, or work into our Namaskar B. So we'll just do one round of this today. It's a little bit longer, and we've covered most of the other asanas between each of the flows in Sun Salutation A. So starting at the top of your mat, you can have your feet together or feet slightly apart, whatever feels right for you. This time we bend the knees. We send the sit bones back, so a lot more weight is coming into our heels. So make sure you're grounding down through the feet. The knees should be in line with the ankles here. Coming into our chair pose, Utkatasana, squeeze the thighs together. Maybe take the block and find that engagement if you struggle to find out how that feels for you. And then we inhale, sweep the arms up, Utkatasana. So options here, this might feel a bit much. Take your hands to heart center, or if you want to take full Utkatasana, maybe taking your palms together, hands to touch, lifting up, gazing up. Don't need to do this, arms can be wide, gaze can be forward. One more breath. Don't usually hold it for this long, and then exhale. Start to hinge forward. We're coming back to your forward fold here. Take your options. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands, step back, or you can add a little jump back here. So again, advanced transition, but if it's something you want to work towards, then we'll go through this now. So we take our halfway lift. From here, bend no knees, find that buoyancy. Take your hands down in front of you. So if you're familiar with Crow Pose Vikasana, it's kind of that thing of you're lifting forward a little bit so you can shoot those legs back, and we land in our bent elbow chaturanga. We don't land in our locked out plank position. That can create a bit of flexion in the back. It's not what we're after. So again, take whatever variation of vinyasa that works for you. Otherwise, sending it forward, arms are strong here, shoot the feet back, we lower down halfway. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward dog, nice. Find foundations in your downward dog, take your variation. Then from here we move into Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1. So, traditionally, pivoting that left foot 45 degrees, we step the right foot in between the hands. So from here we root to rise up. This might be a bit much, especially on that back leg. So you can take your feet a little bit wider, create a bit more space in the hips. You can turn that back foot in a little bit, which relieves the knee, or you can come into a crescent lunge. So I'll show you this variation first. So we lift all the way up and out, coming into our Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1. So with this, we're aiming for squareness in the hips. So this is something that I really want you to be aware of. So instead of just focusing on twisting the hips round, this could end up injuring the knee. So I want you to be mindful of this. So maybe bringing the stance in a little bit closer. Maybe pivoting that foot so it's a little bit more in line with just angled out from facing forwards, or come into your crescent lunge. So they are your main options for your Virabhadrasana 1. So again, sending those hips square. So the right hip draws back, the left hip draws forward. We want to bend into that right leg so the knee stacks over the ankle. And I like to use this self-adjust here, just to take my hands, just to feel in with where my hips are. Then you can inhale, the arms can reach up. They can be palms facing in, palms together, maybe the gaze follows, so it's like a tiny back bend. If you have high blood pressure, I'd recommend keeping your hands down here. And then we take one breath, inhale. As you exhale, plant the hands, frame that front foot, and we step that right foot back into our plank, and we take our variation of vinyasa. So either knees, chest, chin, half or full chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Nice. We then come to it on the next side. So pivot that back foot 45 degrees. And then step that left foot in between your hands. Maybe it needs to wiggle. And again, you know your own body. So bear in mind on the other side, we take the variation that feels right for us. So I feel a bit tighter in this hip. So I'm going to take my feet out a little bit and allow my hips to square. And I'm going to really ground down through the edge of that right foot to allow me to shift my hips without hurting my knee. And I'm going to inhale. You take your variation. So inhale, the arms reach high. Exhale, frame that front foot, step it back to plank, and then take your vinyasa. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Nice. We'll take 3 breaths here. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Inhale. Exhale. Take the gaze in between your hands. You can walk, you can step, or you can take that little hop towards the top of the mat. We inhale halfway, flat back. Exhale, fold. Bend into the knees, send the sit bones back. We rise all the way back up. Utkatasana, chair pose. Squeeze in through the core. Keep that tailbone drawn in. And then we extend through the legs. Inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, hands to heart center. Samastiti here. Amazing. And closing down the eyes, breathe in here. Coming back to that breath. I'm going to run through that one more time. So options to either come with me, we'll take that, and I just want to show you how the breath should connect to the movement. So we'll firstly do a Surya Namaskar A, any variation that you want to, connecting to the breath, and Surya Namaskar B, connecting with the breath. Just so you know how you can breathe into it, you can modify now however you wish. Yeah, if that's enough for you, maybe take child's pose. Maybe you can sit and just watch this and see how the breath moves with the movement. So, starting at the top of the mat, Samastiti here, we'll start with Sun Salutation A. Moving breath through to movement. We inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. Exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands, step back, plank pose. Exhale, take your variation of your chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, tuck under toes, push back, downward dog. 5 breaths here. Inhale. Exhale. 2. 3, keep the sit bones lifted. 4, check that the feet are hips distance. And 5. Take the gaze in between your hands. Walk, step, take a little hop, top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, threads all the way up, hands reach overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center. Samasthiti, coming into Sun Salutation B straight away. Inhale, Utkatasana, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands. Jump or step back to your plank or chaturanga. Inhale. You can take an additional inhale here, that's always good. Exhale, lower. Inhale, sweeps you up. Baby cobra or full upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Pivot that left foot, step the right foot in. We inhale to draw you up. Exhale, frame the front foot, step back, take your vinyasa. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Pivot that right foot, step the left foot in between the hands. Inhale to rise. Exhale, frame that front foot. Step it back, vinyasa, you're nearly there, amazing. Inhale. Exhale, takes you back 5 breaths. 1, 2. Connect to that ujjayi. 3, 4, and 5. Take the gaze in between the hands, walk, step, jump, top of the mat. Inhale, halfway. Exhale to fold. Inhale, bend the knees, sit bones back, Utkatasana. Exhale, standing, hands to heart center, Samasthiti. Amazing if you did that round, so good. And then gently lowering yourself all the way down to your mat. And just finding a nice, comfortable seated position here. Amazing, well done. Taking the blocks if you need to. Pop it under your sit bones, whatever feels right for you. And then just closing down the eyes here. And noticing how you feel right now. Coming back to the natural rhythm of your breath. Letting go of that ujjayi breath. Start to breathe a little bit softer. Inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Maybe you can feel the heart beating quite fast. Maybe a little bit of a sweat, a little bit of warmth in the body. And that's exactly what we want in our Sun Salutations. So they are designed to bring that heat, bring that awareness, moving with complete body awareness and engagement to start your yoga practice, to shift your focus. Let's just start to soften into it now. Start to let it go a little bit. And after all of this shift, allow yourself to come back to your center, your true nature. So how do you want to breathe? How do you want to use this energy maybe for the rest of the day? And then start to soften that body, soften the jaw, soften the temples a little bit more. Allow yourself to feel this sense of accomplishment for sticking with the practice, for being open-minded to learn something a little bit different, and to carving out this really important time to connect back to yourself. Start to take your hands to your heart center in Anjali Mudra prayer. Place the thumbs at the heart center, bowing the head down towards the hands. in honour of the practice and in honour of your amazing self. About to take the thumbs to the third eye centre, space in between your eyebrows, and we'll all bow down to say Namaste. Namaste. Amazing. Thank you so much, everybody, for keeping with me through that. And yeah, I hope it helps the next time that you're going through a vinyasa flow, or maybe you want to just take this in its own practice, build a little bit of heat before you take any kind of other practices. Yeah, take care. See you later.